Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're back to our Tuesday night, and thanks for hanging out. And go ahead and fire away. Q&A, anything goes.
And then go ahead, Yen and Barbara.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you all so much for your time, your generosity. I don't make it here very often, but
Oh,
I'm
you're
very
very
grateful that you guys are available.
I like hanging out with you guys. Like it's fun.
I can tell too. I was just going through the website, just wanted to make some orders, and I saw this link to Human Design. I was like, what's that? I've never seen it before. And so I
Yeah.
kind of went down the rabbit hole and read some of Robin's material and so forth.
Mhm.
And I see there was a series of oils that you were offering as well. So I was wondering if you could just maybe speak just a couple minutes
Boy,
about
I'd have to turn you over to Robin on that one. I go through and I have an understanding of human design. As far as the theory and everything, that's more Robin's ball of wax. We had a bunch of meetings and she gave me a bunch of information and I created the blends, and we're talking about like a therapeutic approach that I'm working on. And then we're kind of gonna co-present this book or booklet, whatever you'd like to call it. It's actually quite involved, and some of it's going to be with oils, and some of it is actually going to be practices that are maybe meditation kind of practices, maybe not quite meditation, but practices like that, where we're going to try to do things several different ways. But as far as like the hardcore theory of human design, I'd have to turn you over to Robin on that one. Like I kind of get it, but I don't get it enough to be the person answering questions. I mean, I can talk about the blends, but even with that, I have to go through and look at the notes for
I'll just hang tight.
Interesting. Like I find it very, very interesting. It's a combination of a lot of old ancient practices that are kind of been like brought into modern times in a way that's really very systematic. And I've been around the block. Like I've seen a bunch of things and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of nice, it's kind of interesting, it's kind of whatever. But I keep going deeper and deeper with the human design, and it's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
My first experience with it, like she took my information and did my chart and everything, the astrological thing, and she was just talking about the chart and my personality traits, and I was like, have you been talking to my friends? Like, you're like nailing me. Like it's very, very interesting. And the thing is, with us doing the oils and some of the other practices, it brings in a whole other therapeutic approach of working all that information. I mean, they're really good about compiling information and understanding the mechanism so that you can, look at behaviors and thought processes and things that have happened. You can really process it through a different set of eyes. And then we're going to bring in this whole other therapeutic part with the oils and some of the other practices. And I'm even writing protocols for doing energy work on some of the different aspects. I don't know that will get presented in the book, but I am going to hand it off to some healers so that they can go through and do that as well. And so it'll be a very big systematic approach. So
well, I look forward to it. I'll hang tight.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Can I ask you a quick question about mugwort too? I've been getting some acupuncture for an injury.
Okay.
And the acupuncturist recommended, hey, you have some moxa at home, give that a shot. And I know it's mugwort, moxabuxin.
Yeah.
So it led me to think, if I have some mugwort essential oil, would that substitute instead of using moxabuxin?
Yeah, I would say yes. Like I know several acupuncturists that actually switched over to using the mugwort essential oil rather than the moxie, just because you don't have the smoke and it's a little quicker, and you could do it neat on the area, on the points or on the joints themselves, or I think one of the acupuncturists back in New York, he was putting it in like a roller ball, and he would just roll it on the spots that he wanted, and
Mm,
he'd move on, and he really liked it. And so
okay.
it's the same idea. The only thing that the essential oil wouldn't do is the heat component. With Moxie, you're burning it and you're getting it close. But really, the moxibustion's about opening up the channels, getting the energy to move, getting it to flow. And I mean, that's what mugwort does. And so um, doing it on the arms and legs is always good. I go through periods where I do that every day, and then I kind of get off track with it, and then I go back to it again. I'm like, why did I stop?
Okay.
Like, when, like, say you have a bad shoulder, if you open up the joints of the arms and legs, and you hit a couple of the spots up in the shoulder and the neck and everything, my experience is that area heals a little bit faster than it would
Okay.
on its own, and it reduces some of the pain. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons to use that. And that's the thing with mugwort, is it opens up channels, and even the energy centers, the chakras themselves, will get bigger wherever you put it. Like if you dab it on the heart, it gets bigger on the heart. If you put it on the spleen gets bigger. If you put it on the basic gets bigger. And so it's one of the ways to increase or improve the flow of energy through that center, which then filters into the meridians and the organs and things like that. And anytime you see a chakra get bigger, it is a byproduct of more spiritual energy coming in and more kundalini going up. And so regardless of where you put it, it's making that part of the body like more healthy on an energetic level, which eventually translates to physically and psychologically. And so you could do it several times a day. You do it in the morning, you do it in the evening. If it's kind of a severe injury, you could even do it, a couple of times during the day. But it's nice because it's quick and easy. Like if you're at work, you just walk into the bathroom and bam, 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 and then go back to work, and you don't have to smoke up the place. And yeah, it's very nice.
Is Artemisia a good substitute for it, or does it work?
Artemisia is actually mugwort, but from a different region. Like the mugwort is from Morocco, and the Artemisia is out of Nepal, but basically the same plant. Yeah, it's just they smell somewhat different, but the difference is just location. Aesthetically, energetically, physically, they have the same properties. It's just they smell a bit different.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, so enjoy.
Oh, I just wanted to say one quick thing for the human design. Basically, a lot of the people right now who are into human design, most of them are getting the kit that connects to their type. So, and if you need to figure out what type you are, we can figure that out. Robin can figure that out, and that kind of thing. And then you get the workbook PDF that goes along with your specific type. So I just wanted to kind of.
Yeah, I have to go through and count. There's like 220 blends that's for human design, and not that all the practitioners are going to need all of them, but it's for all the different designs. And we did it for all the gates, we did it for the circuitry, we did it for pretty much everything. We went through it with a fine tooth comb, and we went through, and there's a blend for just about everything. And then we'll do like combinations for therapeutic effects on, like the centers and things like that. And so, I think at first Robin and I were thinking about just doing little pieces of it, but as we started releasing it to some of the like kind of research groups that we were, presenting it to, we realized we just got to do the whole process. So I've been writing and doing formulas and everything for the last several months, and getting close to being able to present something to Robin to where she can just go in and fill in the human design stuff, and it's basically going to be a book of sorts. Yeah, a big therapeutic strategy. So, and it could be also set up for practitioners to do it with their patients or their clients. And so it wouldn't be just like something you do to yourself. You could also set it up so that you could do therapeutic strategies with clients and things. And so
And then I just had one other thing, because Greg gave me the idea when he was making the different types, the generator, manifesting generator, all the different ones. And he, he's talking about the different qualities and the energies. And so we haven't put this kit out, but to play with the different types. And it's like, if you're not a reflector or you're not a projector, to inhale those oils, and it gets you the energy of that type. And so it also allows you to kind of connect with something that you aren't even normally connecting with, which is kind of a amazing experience.
yeah, like it helps you to interact with the other types, like basically, yeah, like what Samantha said. Yeah. So all those things will be laid out in the workbook. Yeah. Yeah, I've been quietly kind of plugging along in the behind the scenes. I got about 4 different projects going in this, but I love what I do, so it makes it fun.
And then go ahead, Barbara, then Ralph.
Hey, Miss Barbara.
Hey there, that is so cool about the human design stuff. I'm gonna have to chat with Rob.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really amazing. Like it kind of is mind-boggling. Yeah,
What you've done sounds totally amazing. I got fascinated when I first read her stuff on your website and went
Yeah.
through a couple of books, and
Yeah.
now this is going to take it to a whole nother level.
yeah, it's a great system, and she's very gifted with it. Like it's I had the whole staff of Stara. We did it all, and yeah, everybody was thrilled with it. Yeah.
My question tonight, and I will try to keep this to a tuna fish size can,
Mhm.
because it's blood pressure, and I know that's too big, but 2 specific aspects, or if I can ask you.
Yeah. So yeah, you were actually on my list of like reaching out to and talking to you about it. Like I went through and did a little evaluation on you, and do you mind telling me like what is your blood pressure at these days?
Well, it varies. I just took it before class. And so the 2 things I wanted to raise are, one, just the anticipatory effect, which I think is big. And the other one is it goes up during my spiritual practice,
That's actually quite normal. Like
but
it-
hard to explain to the physician.
yes, I get you. But like when I was with Master Choa, at a certain level of meditation, we were required to travel with blood pressure cuff, because certain meditations were very peaceful, but it drives the blood pressure up really high, not for a super long time, but for a time, and so at a certain level you have to start monitoring your blood pressure all the time. And so
Yes.
yeah, it's a little bit of a thing. And so
So the
deep
stomach's
prescriptive
running.
practices can be a little bit hard on the body. You would think they would be very peaceful to the body, but
Yeah, that was the look I got. Meditation makes your blood pressure go up.
right.
Oh,
Yeah. Simple meditation will make it go down, but the really deep meditation actually usually elevates the blood pressure.
yeah.
And so it usually is very intense meditation or very deep. It's
Well, I mean, it,
very strong meditations do it. And so given your practice and what I know of your practice, it's not surprising. And so the thing that I would do is there's different approaches and there's different reasons why the blood pressure can go up. And we can play with oils and things, but a lot of times with something like this, I tend to go a little bit more to some herbs rather than just the essential oils. I mean, one of the very first things you always do for blood pressure is you treat fluid volume. You use diuretics to reduce any sort of fluid retention, and the fluid retention once it's reduced, actually will lower the blood pressure because the heart doesn't have to work so hard to pump. But I find that I use a combination of a couple of things. I use Goda Cola capsules. And for somebody your size, I would say probably 3 capsules twice a day would be pretty good. And this is very much a venous tonic, like a vein tonic. And it really helps improve the function of the veins, the elasticity of the veins, helps move blood from the lower limbs up back towards the heart. And a lot of times this will actually help reduce the blood pressure just by itself. If you look this herb up, a lot of times they don't even mention it for blood pressure, but I find that it is one of the things that I would start with. And especially, you know, how you have the first number and the second number, you know, you look for a ratio, like it's 120/80, you know, you're looking for a certain ratio for that differentiation between the two. And when that second number starts climbing and the difference in numbers isn't like in that ratio, for me, Goda Cola will usually correct that, usually within a day or two of treatment. I mean, it starts normalizing the blood pressure, and the first number can still be a little bit high, but that becomes easier to get down. And so I usually start with having people do Goda Cola. And then there's an Ayurvedic herb, Arjuna, and a couple of capsules a day, twice a day probably. And from there, then I either have them use a little bit of Hawthorn or I have them use a little bit of coenzyme Q10. I would probably suggest the coenzyme Q10 for you. You could do it instead of coenzyme Q10, do ubiquinol, which is a more digestible form of coenzyme Q10. That combination, I mean, sometimes you still need to augment it a little bit, but that is a pretty good treatment for, especially in the early stages of treatment for the blood pressure. And then you can go through and start augmenting based on how much that normalizes it. Like you could do a whole bunch more, but I kind of like to see like what that does and where it leaves the blood pressure. And then from there you can adjust. And so,
Can all those herbs be taken at the same time?
yeah.
Okay. And how much on the CoQ10?
For you, I would probably say maybe a couple capsules a day. I mean, I've had people take up to 12 capsules a day, like 6 at a time, you know, and more severe, you know, heart-related issues. You know, the body does generate some coenzyme Q10, but as we get older, it generates less and less, and it is tied to some circulatory function and energy levels, and it just when the coenzyme Q10 diminishes in the body, the blood pressure usually gets erratic. And so I just like to supplement and augment. And it doesn't mean that you are going to have to take it every day, but you take it kind of consistently and the blood pressure does stabilize most times. Like there has been cases where it didn't. But, you know, there's usually more going on. You know, always supporting the kidneys is always very good with any sort of blood pressure issue. And, you know, again, going back to Master Choa, when people were doing meditation on a regular basis, he always would say, you know, from time to time, clean the kidneys, treat the kidneys, you know, sweep the kidneys, you know, do energy work on the kidneys. It doesn't have to be all the time, but like once a month, like do a little maintenance on the kidneys. And, you know, I always kind of took that to heart. And when I go to see the doctor, I was like, you know, bring me the menu. I want to have things like checked out. And, you know, I have them check the kidneys. And the last time I was there, I had a new doc. And uh, he was looking at my blood panel and everything, and he goes, "Man, your kidneys are really good for your age." He goes, "You have a young man's kidneys." Like, and I was like, "Yeah, thank you." He goes, "No, really, your kidneys are really good." Like he kept saying it over and over again. And I was like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "No, you have no idea. Like your kidneys are really good." And it's just been through the years, like using the things we talked about, using parsley, using lovage. I mean, probably more than anything, I've used parsley more than anything. Lovage, we went through a period of time where it was really hard to get. And so I would use it, but just like time to time, I wasn't using it all the time. But like I've been using parsley for years and years and years. And things like cedar, rubbed on the body, Venus tonic as well, can help it's not directly for the kidneys, but you're supporting some of the other functions in the body that would then like play into the kidneys. And then always kind of supporting lymphatic work, because the thing is like the lymphatic work is dealing with a lot of the excess fluid that's left over from the circulation and the cardiovascular system. And so, the kidneys are part of getting rid of some of that excess fluid. And so to treat the kidneys and the lymphatic system together is, I think, just part of overall health. It slows down the aging process, but it's not like the direct treatment for blood pressure, but it definitely contributes. And I would just keep all of those in play. And, the thing that I always tell the people that I'm treating with something like that is, think big picture, don't get too fixated on the symptom unless the blood pressure is really going up. Think about like just what's it going to look like if I do this over 30 days or over 60 days? Not that like you had a bad day or two, because those happen. It could be stress, could be poor sleep. Here we talk about energetic things. Cords can drive blood pressure up quite substantially. And,
Right.
I've had some cords send my blood pressure like way high. I cut the cords and then it drops back down to normal. And so, and I wasn't even aware that the person was mad at me. Like, you know what I mean? I was just,
Yeah, you too.
yeah, oh yeah, people. Yeah,
Will all of this help bring down the heart rate as well?
heart rate, that I would probably go to oils. So you have some choices. So usually the first choice that I do with that is you'll have to play around with like kind of works for you. A lot of times I go to Lang Lang first, and I actually have people take that internally, like two or three drops, like in a little water, and very good for helping to begin to lowering the pulse. There's been times where we needed to do it with neroli instead. And if you want to experiment with that, we can do a little tiny bottle for you so you can, because it's a little bit expensive. Lang Lang's much cheaper. And I mean, it's not crazy priced, but it's more expensive. And so, instead of buying a big bottle, just do like a little tiny bottle, do a couple of drops, see if it lowers the pulse. And then if it works, then you can get a bigger bottle. But if it doesn't, then you're not invested in the big bottle.
Like
And so
start with the Lang Lang or start with,
I would start with the Lang Lang first.
Okay.
I mean, that's practical. You could always increase dosage with Lang Lang. It's kind of fortifying to the body. A lot of times it does knock it out.
I've been
Usually-
inhaling it and it helps a little. I wasn't sure about taking it in.
Inhaling would help, like on the wrist would help, but usually to really kind of lower it, you almost have to do it internal.
Okay.
Yeah. I have had vetiver in a few cases lower the heart rate as well. And then You know, in the Vital Center kit,
Mhm.
the uvula blend, I've had that lower people's blood pressure somewhat. Not enough to where I would say like, hey, this is a thing, or not blood pressure, the pulse. Um, Not enough to where I'd say, hey, this is the go-to thing for lowering pulse, but enough to where it's always in the periphery of like, if these other things don't work, maybe that would work. Yeah.
Inhalation?
That you could probably get away with just inhalation. You might need to put a couple drops on your wrist, but for that, the big one is inhaling it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And
Yeah.
just a last comment so I can let someone else talk.
Uh,
I used the cholesterol support for about a year.
Mhm.
My cholesterol dropped 3 points.
It dropped how much?
3 points.
Just 3 points.
Yeah.
She's using the normal one, not the potential other one.
Yeah, like so sometimes, and it happens more with women, that instead of doing rosemary and cypress, we need to do rosemary and Spanish sage.
Okay, I both of those. What ratio do you use?
Two parts rosemary, 1 part Spanish sage. And the other thing that also can lower cholesterol is helichrysum.
Oh,
Helichrysum, that you could actually even probably, you could take a few drops internally, or you could actually get away with putting a few drops just on your wrist with that one.
okay. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 points is almost like nothing happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that other option was helichrysum. Or
Yeah, you could either do rosemary, verbena, and Spanish sage together, 2 parts to 1 part. And then the other option would be helichrysum, or you could do them both. Yeah. There's also, in really tougher cases, there is a blend that we do. I think I call it digestive lymph. Let me look it up real quick.
you do have a digestive lymph blend. I don't know if it,
I don't remember what's in it though.
I actually used that for about the past 6 weeks or so before
Yeah.
that.
So the thing with that is, let me look up to make sure I'm talking about the right one. Yes. So it is 3 parts carrot seed and 1 part this kind of it's not a very commonly used type of rosemary called rosemary camphor. It's basically a different chemotype, and you usually use it for like heart conditions, but combined with the carrot and then applied topically, it can also help reduce cholesterol. And the person who turned me on to that is a medical aromatherapist who's a physician in France. And so, he was doing it where he would test people, treat them with the oils, and then test them again. And so, even the rosemary, verbena, and cypress, that's kind of like the go-to one that they use in France a lot. Then for certain people, certain like body types, the rosemary, verbena with the Spanish sage, and it's usually women. Men usually respond to the cypress. Most women will respond to the cypress, but occasionally you need to switch it out to the Spanish sage. And then sometimes he would augment with helichrysum, and sometimes he would augment with this digestive lymph blend.
How long would you need to use the digestive lymph blend? I did it for about 6 or 8 weeks.
6 or 8 weeks. I mean, you should have saw some sort of shift or change. And so that if you're doing that combined with how high is your cholesterol, by the way?
250.
Yeah. And is it a genetic thing in the family or?
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Most cholesterol is genetic.
I mean, the HDL is respectable, but I really don't want to go on a statin.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Let's have you do the rosemary verbena and the Spanish sage and see how that treats you. And maybe just if you have a helichrysum, a couple drops of helichrysum on your wrist daily,
Okay.
and see how that goes. And let's treat it for like maybe 6-8 weeks, and then after that, when are you going to be tested again?
I'm not sure. That was my question. How long did I need to do it?
I would give it like probably a good solid 3 months.
Okay,
I
great.
mean, it should start dropping soon, but give it a good solid 3 months. Yeah, and then if that doesn't work, then we're going to have to be more aggressive on your liver. Yeah, yeah, which happens. I mean, that's not that big of a deal. But those are very specific for cholesterol. Like the other things would be just improving some liver function and then still treating it with the stuff that we're treating. Yeah.
And then go ahead, Ralph and Cindy.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Greg. First off, I wanted to give you a shout out and an update. You helped me out with low blood pressure this summer
Uh-huh.
after I had passed out on the floor.
Oh, yes, I remember.
I haven't had any problems with that since. So thank you.
Very good. Very good. What do we have you do? The hyssop?
No, you took some cords off of my Ming Men.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Wow, and it caused low blood pressure. Usually it causes high blood pressure.
Yep. Well, I've had low blood pressure problems
Even more
basically my
cords.
whole life.
Yeah. Those-
I've had several incidents throughout my life of having low blood pressure and falling down. So,
Yeah. Yeah, those pesky cords, you know, and you don't really think about people cording, you think, oh, they're going to hit you in the solar plexus or in the basic, but you know, so the Ming Men can get hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Same with the navel. The navel can get hit really hard too.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. Sleep.
Hmm?
Seeing as how for years I've had a problem where when I go to bed, I go to sleep pretty quick, but then I'll wake up someplace in the middle of the night and be awake for some hours. Last week you were talking to a lady bike rider and you were
Right.
saying Tarragon and spikenard for sleep.
Yeah,
Might that
tarragon,
help?
the tarragon and spikenard, it could help. Like the thing is if you're falling asleep and then not able to stay asleep,
Yeah.
there was some studies done like many years ago that they found if they gave just like a little bit of St. John's wort right before bed, it didn't help people fall asleep, but if they were able to fall asleep, it helped them to stay asleep longer.
Okay.
And so this is what I would do. I would try the spikenard and the tarragon first. Like I would put a couple drops of water and take it internally. I'd inhale it. I'd even put a little bit like on the abdomen or on the feet and just really relax the body and see if that can't really knock that out for you. You could do them both together if you wanted, or you could
Okay.
do them separately. I sometimes even have people do a little bit of hyssop, right? As they're laying in bed and just take some long, slow, deep breaths and let the body relax. And then if you're still waking up in the night, then I would probably try the St. John's wort. The essential oil is like you could probably get away with like a drop or two. If you wanted to just go to the health food store and try something like that, it would probably need to be like a dropper full of the tincture or like maybe 2 or 3 capsules. Now, here's the downside of St. John's wort is that can make you a little sensitive to the sun. And
Okay.
that kind of dosage, it shouldn't be the case, but you never know, And then the other downside is if you're on other medications, St. John's wort is a very good blood purifier, and sometimes it offsets the effects of other medications.
I don't
And-
have any other meds.
Okay, then you're solid. Yeah. Yeah. So try the Tarragon and the spikenard first. I mean, try
Okay.
working with some of the stuff that you have. And then if that doesn't work, switch to the St. John's wort.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. Let's see, anything else? I think that's it for right now. Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Good hearing from you.
Yep.
And then go ahead, Cindy, then Christy.
Hey, Cindy.
Hey, Greg. Hey, just to go back on what you just said,
Uh-huh.
so for staying asleep in the middle of the night,
Uh-huh.
take Tarragon and spikenard internally? Is that
Yeah, you like with sleep, boy, sometimes I just do the shotgun effect. I take a little bit internally, I rub it on my feet or on my abdomen, like a little bit of lotion or something, and then I inhale it a bit until I feel like. And the new thing that I've been doing for the last, I don't know, like couple of months is I've been putting the blend protective web and like alcohol and witch hazel, like a body tonic, and shake it up, and then I rub it on my abdomen and my back and my legs a little bit, and I mean, like, I conk out. I don't know, I haven't used it to treat something like that, but like if you're having a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep, that could be an option. But I would say for me, I haven't used it enough to treat people with it to say like, oh, this would be a thing to do. It's working on me, but I usually, like, by the time I talk about something, I like to have like done it on 10, 12 people at least. Like my rule of thumb back in the old days was 20 people. Like if I treated 20 people and got the result, then I can say, that's a go-to thing. And for the protective web, I haven't done that yet. And so it is going to be in the Metatron kit. And so, when that comes out, that class is in a few weeks. I was maybe hoping to get a little feedback from that, and so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah. How's things going with your work?
Oh my gosh, it's changing. When you were here last time, we talked about how, that my boss wasn't really sure about keeping me. And I just started blessing him, like every time I thought about it, constantly, like numerous times a day. And then all of a sudden I started getting extra work.
Oh, good.
And it's looking like they're, they want to keep me, and things are, because it feels like things are more solid. I feel better, but
Okay.
Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, because that had to be a little bit of an anxiety. That's the reason why I was asking if that's still hanging over your head. When something like that's hanging over your head, it's hard to sleep at night. Those are the kinds of things that keep people up at night, at least for me. And so, and do you have a lot of people pulling on you, or a lot of people, not even in a negative way, just you have a bunch of people pulling on you, or is it just you're doing some work and?
Actually, think I get enough space in between tasks that okay. And they still haven't given me a full job description, but I'm getting enough work, and there's enough interaction with management that I'm feeling a lot better than I have been. I do think I'm still recovering from the previous manager, though. The body is just still recovering from that. It felt like trauma working with her.
Yeah, like and getting a little bit of not so much that you have negative chords, but maybe cleaning some chords up. And it could be just some of those old things, could be stuff with with the manager now. It could be just the wear and tear of all that time that's either manually go through and clean the cords, or use something like ironbark eucalyptus or the etheric cord blend or something. And you can just sit and inhale it, but then you can also be specific where you go, okay, think about the old boss, think about the new boss, think about the person I work with, think about that other person, and just keep clearing stuff out. And, because sometimes when like negative chords are the weakest chords, even though like when we feel them, they're like, ugh. We also have good chords with people, and it's just a transference of energy that happens between people, but those can get contaminated, and then the situation goes away and that contamination kind of lingers, and then you have an interaction again. So you're dealing with the new situation and the old contamination, and sometimes it just builds and builds and builds. And I'm a big fan of like, just go through and clean it out, just clean it out, so that you have the ability to connect with people to a higher, greater degree, because there's that transference of energy between you and the individual, and you're not dealing with all the contamination from the past. And so any time where you're having to interact with a lot of people are leaning on you, and it's not even necessarily that they're being aggressive or hostile. It's just sometimes they're stressed out, or you had this experience with the last boss where it impacted how people were viewing you, and you know what I mean? And it sounds like you kind of weathered that storm and your performance is speaking for itself. And I would just clean things up a little bit. And you could do it a couple of different ways. Like, it doesn't have to be, you could use the oils, you could use the energy healing, but just clean the cords.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I did want to ask, so
Mhm.
my back is hurting and my shoulders when I wake up in the morning. So I've been putting bay laurel on it, neat.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering what is happening. What does it do? Because later my back doesn't hurt. So what is
Stimulates lymphatic function. Like, it is one of the best stimulants for lymphatic like function and clearing the lymph nodes and things like that. And so a lot of times, especially when it's dull achy pain is lymphatic stagnation. No matter like why it's there, like it's a sprain, a strain, postural misalignment, you're hunched over doing stuff on the computer, whatever it is, inflammation in the body. Anytime that something is achy, that is lymphatic stagnation. And so, keep moving the lymph, do things like that. Going back to the energy component of it, health rays are your body's ability to detoxify, be it detoxifying physically, emotionally, even mentally to a certain extent, is all tied to the health rays, which is those perpendicular lines where energy comes in and then, you're expelling them out. And so lymphatic function is also tied to health ray function. And you have outer rays and then you have inner rays. And so, like things like basil or even lavender is cleansing to the inner rays. Basil is probably your best bet. Basil, petitgrain, things of that nature, even clary sage to a certain extent. What else? Coffee would be good. But if you can keep moving the lymph, then the body is able to like normalize. So it could be that you're having some issues and some other parts of the body that's causing the lymph to be stagnant. So like any time that you're seeing issues where you're clearing the lymph and then it's just there again, is like there's something in the circuit, like there's something in the full circulation of the lymph where it's getting stuck and then it's like backing up. you can always look at the armpits because it's the shoulders, but the one that I like to go to with a lot of stuff is I look at the gut. Like put some of the bay laurel on the gut as well, and see, still put it on the spots that you're hidden, but put just several drops on the gut and just rub it in and see if that doesn't help as well. The gut can get really lymphatically impacted, lymph nodes and things like that. Is the breath okay? Like, are you able to take a nice, good, deep breath and you don't feel like anxious and the diaphragm's not tight? I know you do a bunch of breathing stuff, so you're probably okay there, but make sure that the breath is like deep enough.
I think the breath is deep enough. I noticed that when I was going upstairs, I would get really winded after COVID, and you gave me that circulatory tonic,
Mhm.
which I've been taking, and it is helping.
Oh,
I'm
good.
feeling less winded. The progress is a little bit slow, but I noticed today the body could just zip up the stairs pretty well.
Oh, good. And always you can, like with that, to augment, clean the Mingmen. Sometimes the shortness of breath is actually the Mingmen.
I
The
do,
circulatory tonic should help with that, but like if you want to like quicken the pace, clean the Mingmen.
yeah, I do think there's some congestion, and probably the
Yeah,
movement.
I mean that's stress, that's circulation, that's blood pressure, that's the spine. It's always about raising the vibration of the body. That's a lot of different things, and so when the different issues were popping up after like post-COVID for a lot of people, I don't think in the early days we really realized how much it impacted circulation, and that like using that circulatory tonic and I was using helichrysum because I was like, it hits the blood clots, it hits circulation, it hits a bunch of things, but as time is going by, some of the health rays get congested, but it becomes a bit of a Mingmen issue. Like it really does. The body was in such a crisis that the Mingmen just gets congested and a little agitated, a little overactivated or underactivated, and it's just takes a little bit for the body to normalize. And so the circulatory tonic should help. But if you're still needing a little bit of augmentation, either sweep it or just inhale like hyssop or eucalyptus with your awareness on your Mingmen. Palo Santo would be another one. Just inhale and just blow stuff out of your Mingmen.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the circulatory tonic, someone's asking, how do we take that?
Internal, like 2, 3, even 4 drops internally daily, like in water. Yeah.
Could I have one more question quickly?
Yeah, you can have all you want.
So, I have a 1.5-year-old grandson, and you said to give him, I think you said German chamomile on the legs and arms to help him sleep well and stay asleep at night. Was that right?
Probably Roman chamomile.
Roman chamomile.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was over, and I rubbed that on his arms and legs. I couldn't remember which oil because I gave it to them, and they
Any chamomile should work. It's just Roman chamomile is a little softer. Yeah.
Okay, so I put it on him, and then he got super quiet, and I felt the whole room just go way down, like so peaceful and calm. I've never felt that before.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So what do you think that was?
Yeah, he's probably just calmed down. I mean, like especially on the arms and legs. I mean, lavender will work, but when the child is like kind of agitated and stuff, man, chamomile is just so calming and soothing, and it's like how when you're doing meditation, like Lama Yoga or Dhyan, how you do the turtle breath and And then you go, okay, be still. In that moment, you can feel the stillness because you're being still, and there's just the stillness, and you can start to feel like the presence, right? And with the child, like you know, they're not that far from just being born. And so if you calm things down, they can slip into that presence kind of quickly. You know, as
That
they get older, it's harder. But for the first few years, if you calm them down, boom, they go right back into the presence.
That's exactly what I felt, like a
yeah.
deep meditation. And I went into it with him.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah.
It was really amazing. So thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, and if German chamomile worked, and disregard that I said Roman and just go with whatever worked. Like any chamomile should work. But
I'll have to look in my notes and see which one, or
Yeah.
call them.
any
to see.
chamomile would work. The thing with German, it's it's dark blue, and so it can be a little bit messy. And the thing with German chamomile, it is a very strong immune stimulant, and so I would not use that daily, but you could use it 3 or 4 weeks in a row and then give them a break.
But Roman chamomile,
Roman milk chamomile you can use all the time.
I think that's the one you gave
Yeah,
me.
Yeah. The Roman chamomile for a child has a little bit more of like a soothing effect on their emotions. I mean, the German would too, but like when a little baby is agitated, you give them a little Roman chamomile or Roman chamomile with lavender, and it usually calms them right down. Like, you can always throw in a variation of mandarin, and in really super extreme cases, adding Melissa. But I don't tend to use Melissa just because of the price and everything. I usually can do it with lavender and Roman chamomile.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Christy, then Rob.
Hey, how are you?
Hey.
So you recommended earlier this year a specific oil for when I was doing the materialization breath for classes. And I did it that last time. The second time I did some different techniques and some other things that we worked through, and I'm not having the same results. And I cannot seem to find.
It was Rue.
It was Rue. Okay.
Yeah. And here's the reason. Like the thing with the materialization breath is, it's kind of like what we're talking about with Lama Yoga, but with the throat lock. So you inhale, hold your breath, and then move your head, and then exhale, right? And so Lama Yoga, where you're inhaling up, exhaling down, which they're very similar. It's just one, you hold your breath for a bit. Is the Lama Yoga is very cleansing to the body for like thought forms and things that are stuck in the body and the nervous system and the tissues, right? And so helps with peace, it helps with stillness, it helps with psychological healing, helps with physical healing. But the thing with the materialization breath, where you hold your breath in between, it breaks up elementals. Like it breaks up the condition, basically the effects of conditioning over a period of time. And so that's why, like when you're trying to integrate something into the heart and it's not getting in, is a lot of it is past conditioning. Like in the conditioning, if you look at it from the point of view, is elementals. And so you go through and you start to do the breath, that starts to break up the elementals. But then when you add Rue to the mix, like the different oils do slightly different things. Rue is very specific for conflict resolution. And not that you're having conflict with people, but you're in a time where society and the environment, there's a lot going on. Right, it's unstable, it's chaotic, and like you're stepping into the field of chaos to try to do something. And so in a way you have that as the conflict. And so it just helps with the conflict resolution for helping to produce the result in that particular situation. Other situations that might be kind of different, but for something like that, Rue is a really good choice for right now. And you know, a lot of people could use that that same idea technique where, you know, in some of the classes we use like cinnamon and we use like hyssop, and you know, we're using different things. They all kind of slightly do different things, and all kind of are working towards materialization. But when it comes to conflict resolution, Rue is like the go-to thing. Yeah, I mean, that's why we also use it for courts. You know, a negative court for somebody is a conflict that is getting resolved. You know, you're literally like going, yeah, I'm disconnecting from you, done.
Wonderful. So stay
Yeah.
tuned. See what that and a few Hail Marys and we'll see what happens.
You're doing fine.
A few hundred. I do have a question about my mother. She's having surgery next Tuesday
Okay.
and to have breast implants removed because they're ruptured. So she's been
Oh, wow.
declining for several years.
Yeah.
And it's just
They
got,
were saline?
I don't think they were.
Okay.
So I've done lots of different things with her. I can't really get her to do the oils. The only thing I can get her to do is I'll put basil in like some body wash and things like that, that she gets overwhelmed with very little things. So she'll do the basil and the body wash, but she's like I was there today helping her with some things and she just dizzy all the time and has no energy, like to the degree of I'm really concerned. And she's been sick recently. So
How long has the dizziness been going on?
I mean, this has been going on for over a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'll go in and clean her up and do things with her, but I can't get her to do anything on her own. So, you know, that's.
Would she put on a lotion or like a body tonic?
As long as I don't give her more than one thing. Like I can
Okay.
get her to do I just basically mix a bunch of basil oil with some Castile soap. She'll do that.
Okay.
Maybe-
Have her keep doing that, and then we'll bring, when we come out this weekend, we'll bring a Lovage body tonic and have her just put it on you know, daily if she could, but even if not that, just a little bit, it will help detoxify the body.
I have some lovage. I can make some for her.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, make it kind of strong.
So how many per ounce do you consider strong?
Like I'd say in 8 ounce bottle, I'd probably put 3 or 4 mils.
Okay, bring some more lovage with you. I'll pay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll need more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Anytime you need to detoxify the body, detoxify the tissues, fluid retention, anything like that, Lovage is a great place to start. Like it's a great place to start. And, you know, like when you have somebody who, you know, they might only do one thing, you know, there's other things that you could do, but that does so much heavy lifting that I just put that in motion and then step back. And, you know, between that and the surgery and maybe a little detox afterwards, she could probably be okay.
So do lovage before and after?
I would keep doing it until she starts bouncing back, because I mean, she just sounds like toxic. And so, you know, sometimes after you get that material out, and she might bounce back, but if not, you just might need to augment it with some treatments and a body tonic for a while. You know, the soap, like with the basil, like all those things are pretty solid. And, you know, part of the getting overwhelmed with somebody like that too is sometimes they just don't have the energy to do it all. Like, you know, they only have the juice in their legs to do this. And so you pick out the best thing for them and you just give them that much. And then as they get better, sometimes you can keep adding things. But I mean, you kind of have to read the person you're working with. And if you know they're only going to do a little tiny bit, just give them something that will just do a lot, like a lot of bang for the effort. And for that one, I would love, which would be the one I would use.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just to continue on this, someone's asking, when you use Rue with materialization breath for conflict resolution and cord cutting, is there a pattern to accompany the breath or just focus on the Meng Meng or something?
You just actually do the materialization breath. The materialization breath doesn't do the cord cutting. Just inhaling Rue does the cord cutting. Like if it's something in somebody particular, like that person at work, you could think of them and inhale it, but just inhaling it usually cuts the cords. And then the materialization breath, just, visualize the goal, hold it in your heart, and then do the materialization process with the Rue. That's really all you got to do.
And for the Lovage, where do you apply the Lovage body tonic? Any specific areas all over the body? How often?
I would do all over the body. If you had an area that was compromised, like say you had a bad knee or a bad shoulder, you could just focus on that area. But like with the situation with Christy and her mom, even though it's the breast implants, that probably has become systemic. And so I would apply it all over the body. But like if you had an area that was compromised, like you say you had a bad knee or a bad back, you can just put it on the spot.
And then how often?
I would do it daily. Yeah. You do it daily, but like you'll find that like after 3, 4, 5 days, you're like, man, this is amazing. I'm gonna do it every day. And then you do it for 3 or 4 days, and you're like, yeah, I've done that for a couple of weeks. It's because you're feeling better. When you don't feel good, you're like, I got to do something. And then you start feeling better and you're like, yeah, maybe tomorrow. And then a week goes by, right? It's a good sign, and then you can just do it for maintenance from time to time. I went through a phase where I was putting Lovage on all the time and started feeling a bit better and everything. And then I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. It lasted for about 2 weeks. And then I stopped, rotated to something different. And it's the nature of things.
And then go ahead, Ralph.
Hey, Ruff.
Okay, you brought up a couple things. Dull, achy pain getting out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
So you said basil, petitgrain, coffee. Is that internal or external?
Well, that would all be for the health rays.
Okay.
That would all be like topical or inhaled. The coffee more topical, but the basil you can inhale it. But that is a lymphatic issue. So you
Okay.
can use like birch tar, that pain relief blend, just the general pain relief blend. You could use the lymphatic blend. You could use charcoal root cleanser, bay laurel by itself. Sometimes even cedar might work.
Yeah,
And
those are all topical?
topical, yeah.
Okay,
Helichrysum on an area would be good. So kind of whatever you have, like grab it on and just start throwing it on the area.
okay.
Yeah.
And that would be applied to my lower back sometimes is weak in the mornings, apply to the lower back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just your back is achy in the morning?
Usually that's where I feel it.
None of the other joints or anything are achy in the morning?
I've got a knee that's been damaged a long time ago, and occasionally that'll be tricky. But the back is the one that I injured when I was in my early 20s, and it's always been tender.
I would add a little ginger internally.
Okay,
Yeah, I think part of the achiness is there is you could probably do turmeric, you could do black cumin, but for you I kind of like the ginger.
okay.
And I think there's some inflammation that's happening, and then your body's processing it, and then it's like as you're sleeping, it's making your back stiff.
Okay,
And so If you don't have ginger, try
Got
it back
some.
home. Okay, perfect. Couple drops internally in water, call it good.
Okay,
Yeah. But do it daily.
okay.
Doesn't matter when.
No, you can do it. You can do it morning or night, doesn't matter.
Okay. The Metatron class and the Phoenix class. Now, I know that you did the Phoenix class a while back and you're doing another, or is this different Phoenix class coming up?
You kind of faded out a little bit. I couldn't quite.
I didn't.
Okay, the Phoenix class.
Uh-huh.
You did the Phoenix class a little while back and now you're doing another one in a couple of weeks? Is this a different Phoenix class or is it the same class, you're just doing it again?
No.
This is the first time we've done Phoenix.
Yeah. Phoenix
We
class.
did a sandal pond healing technique.
Ah, okay, all right, yeah. I
Yeah,
got it
yeah.
confused.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. No, this is the first time we're teaching this one.
okay.
Yeah.
So the Sandalphon and the Metatron, seeing as how those are both the healing angels, is there an order they need to be done in, or can I just take the Metatron, not having done the Sandalphon?
No, you don't need to do them in order. I mean, they stand on their own, but they're also a good combination. And what we're doing is as soon as we teach the Metatron class, the Sandalphon study group is going to turn into the Metatron study group, and then
Yeah.
we're going to talk about how to do them also together. And so there's even going to be a little booklet that is like doing different combinations with that, because it's like doing oils, but working it from more of energetic point of view rather than just symptoms, systems, all the normal things, where we're going deep on the energetic components.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
So the Sandalphon is about the different layers of the aura, by the way.
yeah,
And then the Metatron is about dealing with elementals and things from the past, and then working on a bunch of the other aspects of the energy body, but teaching a particular technique about transmuting elementals that is not commonly used. Yeah, it's actually a very deep part of the practice we call Theurgy, which is like working with the angelic realm.
mhm,
But it's hinted about in certain meditations, like it's even hinted a little bit in like Twin Hearts, meditation on Twin Hearts.
yeah,
It's hinted a little bit in Lama Yoga and Dion and things like that. But this one, we're going full throttle.
sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit easier with oils, because there are techniques to do it without oils. It's just really intense on the energy body if the energy body hasn't been prepped. Doing it with oils, it kind of doesn't matter as much. Like the oils kind of prep the body almost like, as you're doing it.
Yeah,
But like when I was taught this technique when I was young, I think it was years before they would teach me the full technique. Like there was so much prep we had to do for a while.
yeah,
And it was done a little bit more in a ceremonial setting and things, but doing it with oils is straightforward.
okay. Well, okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, you're so.
And then go ahead, Barbara.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey there. Birch complex versus plain old birch, is there a particular
Yeah,
use for the
it's-
complex?
Yeah, Birch Complex is specifically for pain. Birch Complex, I like it for a lot of reasons. Like it diminishes the pain levels. Like, it changes your pain threshold. You can use it for acute situations. It is very good for lymphatic oriented types of pain. It kind of works for nerve pain, not as well as things like the neuropathic pain relief or things that have a lot of mint in them. Mint is a little bit better for some of the nerve pains, but you could even use it for degenerative pains. Doesn't increase the circulation like joint relief and things like that, but um, you know, I kind of tell people, like when I'm working with them one-on-one, if they're not sure like which pain blend to use or something, I actually have them go to Birch Complex right off the bat. And I actually use Birch Complex. This is like a weird application, but when I do a lot of purifications with like the Purba and stuff, you know, in the Buddhist practice, you know, you start expelling, and sometimes it's a little like hard on the body, you know, because so much is coming out. And I put some Birch Complex on, and it just pours out, and it just feels like chill. Like it's just like my body can handle the outpouring of all the stuff coming out. And if you're not sure like which pain blend to do, Birch Complex is the first good one to use. For acute pain, like a fresh injury, it's good. Nociceptive pain, which is that dull, achy pain, it's good. And it's good to augment other pain treatments because it does lower like pain levels. And so, you know, it does some things up in the brain, and uh, it's got several kinds of birch and birch tar and wintergreen and ginger, and you know, it's all the hardcore pain oils, you know, galbanum, you know. And so if you're not sure, try the Birch Complex right off the bat.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Um,
the thing with birch is birch and wintergreen, but birch and birch tar more, as they're very good lymphatic stimulants. You know, they detoxify the body quite well.
Would you apply them in a particular place for that?
Wherever
Function?
the pain's at, but like,
Yeah.
you know, for me, even like if my back's hurting and I just roll it on my wrist, the pain in my back goes down. Like it's like literally like that. It doesn't even have to be on the spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Someone asked me to ask if I would ask you about achy joints and muscles in COVID. And I know you've talked about other things, but I didn't remember that.
Yeah. So with that, again, still can be a lymphatic stagnation. With that, what we used that we found that we kind of got consistent results with was to have the person take a couple of drops of lemongrass internally, probably twice a day. And they usually reduce that quite substantially. You know, it stimulates the immune system, it helps with lymphatic function, and it takes the edge off in the nervous system. It's also something you would give somebody who is like maybe bedridden because they're getting over a cold or a flu, and you know, not being up and active. You know, it kind of hits all the markers for that, and so it makes them more comfortable when they're laying down, and calms the nervous system down, like I said, and helps the body go into that state of healing. So
Good.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
I just forgot what it was called. Is there okay, sorry. I'm just gonna find it. Is there a protocol for pandas?
So is this Bill by chance? Okay. So Bill, like I did look and do a couple of healings on that little baby, the or the child, or I can't remember how old they are. I'm not aware of a particular um protocol specifically for that, but when I went through and looked, a couple of things. The Mingmen was super overactivated, and the thymus is like crazy chaotic and overactive. The Mingmen regulated actually relatively kind of quickly, but the heart and the thymus need to be treated like probably multiple times a day, and eventually it would regulate. Um, how old's the child?
He's a teenager.
Oh, teenager. A couple of drops of Moroccan thyme, like a couple of times a day, will reduce the inflammation in the body, but it will also start to regulate the thymus. And you could even probably do bigger dosages if necessary, but I'd probably start him at 2 drops like a couple of times a day. Yeah. And then lots of sweeping on the heart. There's lots and lots of sweeping. Like you could easily spend 30 minutes on the heart and specific on the thymus.
I'm sorry, I missed, what did the Moroccan thyme do again?
Helps regulate the thymus to prevent the autoimmune response.
Thanks. And you guys can always unmute. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. I
Hey.
appreciate that. Yeah. So in the Ming Men and the thymus, it's basically, I think what you're saying is they're overactivated and just need to be swept regularly.
Yeah, like I inhibited the Ming Men, and that's going to cause like emotional fluctuations amongst other things. But the thymus is the big thing. Like the thymus just needs to be treated substantially. You could look at other things. Whenever I see something where it's not responding quickly to treatment, I always go to the brain as well. The brain and the basic. And I did do that, but the thymus is in kind of bad shape in that particular case. Like it's just super chaotic and like overactivated. It's not even the right word. Maybe hyper-reactive would be a better word. Like it kicks in, and like any time, I don't know the personality of the person, but anytime the thymus gets really heavily impacted, it can impact how they interact with other people.
And
Because
acting
it's
out,
what's that?
like creating part of the acting out issue.
Yeah.
Like motor nerve acting out,
Mhm.
muscular issues from it.
Yeah.
And so what you did was you actually inhibited the thymus a little bit as well.
I cleaned it. Like when I would inhibit it, it wouldn't even last. Like it needs to just be cleaned for a while. Like when I inhibit, like I hit it hard and it only lasted like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And so it means it's too dirty for it to regulate. So you just have to keep cleaning it for a while. I did like 2 or 3 things on little sessions on the person, but it was, I think it's treatable. It just needs some constant attention for a while.
Thank you.
Yeah. Keep me posted. I kept meaning to call you and I just,
I'll get it.
distracted. Yeah, I got distracted by a couple of things.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And you said how basil, petitgrain, clary sage, coffee, or even lavender can be good for the inner health rays.
Yes.
What about the outer health rays?
Helichrysum is your best bet. Helichrysum, let me look up. I can tell you real quick. Litsea cubeba, galbanum, helichrysum, or straw flower.
What was right before straw flower?
Galbanum.
Galbanum. Oh, that one. Oh.
Straw flower is in the helichrysum family. So
And all just inhalation.
yeah. I mean, you can take a bath in it, but inhalation knocks it out.
And then pH refers to health rays. Is it referring to both types?
It Master Joe didn't talk about inner health rays too much. He did a couple of times in person, but a lot of times when you're straightening health rays energetically, you're doing the outer rays, unless you really form the intention, like you're doing it from the bones. Like, the inner health rays are from the skin to the bone. The most times when you're doing health rays, you're doing from the skin out, but and there was a couple of times in person where he talked about the inner health rays, but not often. It's a lot more complicated. It's actually the easiest way to treat it is with plants. You can do it energetically, but when I used to teach the crystal class, I would teach people how to do the inner health rays, but I didn't make a big deal out of it because I technically wasn't supposed to. So I would just do it under a different guise. But yeah, you just got to go in deep to the body.
And I'm just going back, guys, to make sure I got all your questions. If I missed one, please type it in. If you still have any, go ahead and unmute yourself or type in. Can we buy Rue by the gallon?
Yeah, I know. Huh? Yeah, when I used to do corporate work, the two things I sold in big quantities were rue and hyssop. Like the executives would buy 4-ounce bottles at a time. 4-ounce bottles, and then a little 2 ml little bottle they could keep in their pocket because they could pull it out in the bathroom and inhale it. It was kind of funny.
Well, that's all I have.
Think
We have
we're
a few
good.
more
We're solid.
minutes.
Okay, let's see. Nobody else any other questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Cindy.
Hey, Cindy.
Hey,
Oh, I got a few more. Good. Thanks, guys. Go ahead.
I have a friend that called and asked for some energy work for her husband who's 83. And I don't have a lot of information on him, but I know he's diabetic and has numerous health issues. And part of it is diet, which she doesn't have that connection between diet and how it affects the body.
Mhm.
And he doesn't want to deal with it that way. So I know he's on a lot of medication. His legs are swelling. Is it edema? Is that what you call it?
Edema. Yeah, edema. Yeah.
That's what she said. So is there something, and because he's on medications and I don't have all the details, is there one particular thing that she could apply topically that could help?
For that,
That wouldn't interfere with the medicines.
the meds, I'd probably go lovage. Detoxifying to the body with diabetes, the tissue can become a bit acidic. Doesn't mean that it always does, but it can. And whenever you see fluid retention, I mean, it's either kidney function or heart function, but lessening the amount of fluid in the legs is going to improve everything, because the circulation is starting to be compromised. And so lovage would probably be my go-to thing. It detoxifies the body and it's going to make him eliminate, it's going to make him pee a bunch. And he needs to do that to get rid of that fluid. And so that's where I would go with that. I mean, you could just do one thing, like I would do that. Yeah.
So would just putting it on the legs and feet be enough?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how bad the vein health is and everything, but it will start making him eliminate more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And if he's on a diuretic, it won't interfere with that?
If he's on a diuretic, he still needs more because he's still retaining fluid.
Okay.
So the thing that's nice about lovage is that it's not just acting as a diuretic, it's also improving kidney function. And so you're helping to remove fluid while stimulating proper kidney function, where like when you just give somebody a diuretic, like even juniper, like it's a diuretic, it helps people eliminate, but it doesn't stimulate better kidney function the way like parsley or lovage does. Like lovage and parsley, man, they're solid for the kidneys. And so that's what I would do. Like I'd improve kidney function, get rid of some fluid, detoxify the body. All of that's good. It's not all that he needs, but that's a great place to start.
So would the best way to administer the Lovage MSM body tonic?
Yeah. Because it dries, it's not greasy,
Okay. Okay.
it's a real super easy way to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Greg. I'll make this quick because I know we don't have a lot of time. I just wanted to tell you two success stories lately.
Great.
My husband and I were in Europe recently, and he developed a really awful cough.
Uh-huh.
We went to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist thought it was an allergy, which we kind of agreed with. I tried all sorts of things. Didn't really help too much. I came home and I found a little bottle of your allergy essential oil.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had him sniff that 2 or 3 times a day. It took his cough away.
Oh, good.
It was like a miracle. The other success story is I've had eczema right at my hairline, on my forehead for years and years.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
tried all sorts of, medications. They didn't work. And so I don't know, a couple of months ago, you mentioned something about Kunzia,
Mhm.
and I just put it on there once. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's been gone for-
Kunzia doesn't work every time, but it works a lot of the time. It's pretty awesome for eczema.
And I just used it once, and I haven't
Yeah.
had it now. It's been like
Yeah.
2 months, I think. So anyway, I just wanted
That's
to let you
great.
know that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe just touch it up from time to time just so it doesn't come back. But man, 2 months, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I was
With
kind
a
of,
single dosage.
I
that's
was really
good.
surprised that it
Yeah.
hasn't returned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
We may have time for one more.
Yeah, we can fit one more in.
Hi, Greg, it's Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
Sort of a easy question. I'm going to be out of the country for the Metatron, but really, really, really want to learn what you're giving. So my plan is just to pay for the class, and then when I return, be able to go through the recordings. That should be fine, right?
Yeah, that should be fine. And let us know if we need to hold it off and ship it like when you get back, or if we're able to ship it while you're gone. We should probably be shipping.
Tomorrow we start shipping Metatron.
Yeah, tomorrow we start shipping Metatron, by the way. So we probably can get it to you before you leave.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, I'll go ahead and order the class then. All right, I'm glad I asked. Great, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Oh, and I have not posted it, but if you guys want to join us for the next session, I will post the link. And I think we'll call it good for this session.